Every so often it must renew itself by shedding all of its feathers and bursting into flame. Rather melodramatic, if you ask me. It then rises from the ashes, fresh as a daisy, all just a normal part of the life cycle of a phoenix.
We've come such a long way. From what first started out as a small following has now gained a massive audience with the good and the bad. It's just a question to me of how I managed to make it this far as well as the show. Have I really been that passionate for this progress? Needless to say, it wasn't easy either. But a lot has changed. No matter now. A new season awaits for us. It's time. Greetings to you all, I'm GoldenFox, and this is Season 5. Most premieres suffer from a major flaw that becomes controversial. From the fandom's point of view, the first two premieres suffered from pacing issues. The Crystal Empire had a heated argument over its villain, and Princess Twilight Sparkle has had a large amount of complaints over how the plot jumped everywhere. Now, personally, with the only exception of my arguments with Sombra, I didn't have that many issues. I didn't mind the pacing or how jumpy the plots were because I admired their themes. Return of Harmony I was on the fence of from its pacing, but the challenge that Twilight did have to face made up for it. With Season 5, we already have an exciting start by justifying all of these in its own premiere. The Cutie Map, written by Scott Sunneburn and a longtime writer, M.A. Larson. Nice seeing you back again. The episode begins with the main six gathering together at the newly grown castle from Twilight's kingdom. Unexpectedly, an overlaid map of Equestria is shown, giving them a location to explore by their cutie marks.
If this is Ponyville, why are our cutie marks over there? I don't know, but it seems like the map wants us to find out. The tree, the chest, this castle, and now the map. How can we not follow it?
Upon arriving at the location they are assigned to, they discover a town where all the citizens with equal signs as cutie marks have disturbing grins that not even Pinkie Pie would approve of. And I don't blame her, especially considering that she's an expert on optimism. After meeting with the folks, we're introduced to the leader, Starlight Glimmer, who keeps the town intact with equalization, a mentality where there are no cutie marks and having everyone be on an equal level. Okay, it's communism. It's blatantly obvious, it hurts for me to hint that even further. Starlight introduces the main six to a cave where all the citizens have their cutie marks stored in a vault. Unexpectedly, the main six have their marks removed and put into a house being brainwashed. A concentration camp, practically. Sheesh. This, right off the bat, fixes a few problems I would have normally encountered. The pacing works better as the narrative is laid out evenly, making the flow of the story feel a lot more natural. Not every bit is explained, but it's done well enough to engage me, and give the simple details on the foreground. This is something that other premieres suffered from. The next is the theming. Holy crap, does this one dare to tackle on a subject. This episode talks about equality, and having an even ground with everyone is not always the best solution. The way it's presented is very unnerving and shows a psychological effect instead of shock value. The grins are an obvious start, but there's also the expressions and the pupils in their eyes.
We're happy to have any pony who wants to experience true friendship for the first time.
Gives me the creeps. It's a control of one's free will and restraints of what their feelings are to one another, and it's an overall mysterious, eerie sense that makes me want to leave the town immediately. Another theme that subtly brings up is addressed by the villain, Starlight Glimmer. Unlike other episodes that had a villain who was more than a pony, Starlight is an ordinary unicorn that has the advantage towards everyone's free will. She's a down-to-earth character that manages to connect with its audience and not play the same rules of villainy as before. In addition, one of the funniest yet clever ways of this character's appearance comes from Rainbow Dash. She expects a big monster as much as the audience does to come out as we remembered seeing in the other series, and when Starlight appears, it plays with the audience. This works because it shows how self-aware of what the viewers would have originally expected, and it teases them into being introduced to another type of villain. What she shows here is well convincing enough. Her motivations are built from ground up. She shows the main characters of the town and what they do. There's a few characters who are acting rebellious against her will, and when it strikes, her motives begin to show and becomes an utter threat. Another part of what makes Starlight an interesting character is that there is no backstory shared, rather it's hinted at what could be the reason of what she's doing. My major guess is that while developing her magic skills, she may have been treated as inferior and taken it hard. This happened to some people in their lives, and in short, made them more defensive according to what happens in the episode. However, that's only just a theory of mine personally, and I'm sure that it won't live up to what I presume. There's more to explain, but I'll save it for later. Getting to the characters, Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy's portrayals took me by surprise. For the most part, Dash was a representation to the audience's reaction by shouting out what differences this premiere had, while the other characters are in character. But what took me by storm was with these two characters and how their personalities have been utilized. Pinkie Pie, for starters, was more suspicious than others by identifying with the grins that she wasn't fond of. She could have been betrayed as the usual oblivious goofy side like what happened in Princess Twilight Sparkle. Here, she's aware of something strange and gets even aggressive at one point on Fluttershy's case when she was dancing to the town's musical number. Oftentimes, Fluttershy was the most oblivious in this one because of how generous the citizens were. I was originally expecting not to like Fluttershy here because of part 1 due to its act. One of the major things I've noticed with Larson's writing was that he wasn't very good at handling Fluttershy. Case in point, Magic Duel, when she was chickening out on entering the Everfree Forest to reach Twilight while Ponyville was in utter peril by Trixie. However, in part 2, because she was the one who admired the town's generous behavior on the surface, she was used by the main six to escape from the house and investigate what she could figure out. Furthering the narrative, Fluttershy calls out Starlight's blow by her equal cutie mark as the whole time it was a fake, and she attempted to gain higher power by other ponies by manipulating them.
No! Get away! What are you looking at? They're the problem, not me!
You lied to us!
So what? Everything else I said is true. The only way to be happy is if we're all equal.
Except for you.
Every pony has unique talents and gifts, and when we share them with each other, that's how
Quiet!
In a nutshell, she cracks down and we get a chase of retrieving the cutie marks. And it's also from here that the premiere did something else that was different. Instead of having the main six or Twilight take on the final conflict, they are supported by a group of minor characters who surprisingly took in the roles that are just as important. As I pointed out earlier, there were characters that were acting rebellious towards Twilight, and it's because they actually missed what the cutie mark was, and it's a pretty relatable level. The following characters are Party Favor, Double Diamond, Sugar Belle, and Night Glider. We don't see them too much, but some of them have become more interesting to know. Sugar Belle, for instance, is a baker, but she isn't as talented without her cutie mark. Double Diamond's moments come in after finding his skis he left behind when encountering Starlight. Night Glider is someone I don't have much to say other than it's possible that she's a really talented and strong flyer. And that sounds a little generic when you think about the many other characters who also had strength throughout the series. But the most memorable for me is Party Favor, who later in this episode is able to create anything with balloons. I don't want to assume that they'd make later appearances after this episode, but honestly, I would like to see them again. Concluding this review, there's a number of things to take into consideration. On the one hand, this premiere is the most consistent and well-paced compared to the others, and its story is simple enough to follow and involve drama at the right moment and not cram too much in to leave anything left out. It's something that stood differently among the others by taking place outside of Ponyville and given a different type of villain that delivered just as well. However, as I would rank this as my personal favorite premiere of the series so far, I place this and Princess Twilight Sparkle as a personal tie. Why am I not surprised that everyone will get on my case about this? Admittedly, the episode's plot was too convoluted, but putting that aside, I love the flashbacks in the sisters' past and its overall theme about taking the title of being a princess, something that hasn't been touched upon that often for a show targeted for younger audiences. The Cutie Map, on the other hand, had a deep theme as well. However, the structure is what makes this premiere objectively better, but I have a personal connection with the Season 4 premiere. Another note to add here is that there are some possibilities to predict the rest of the season according to Starlight's disappearance. My only guess is that she stayed for the season's finale according to what the other seasons established. At the same time, I would have expected the season to have a sense of adventure later down the line. However, because of my assumption with Season 4 as well as any other moment of what I thought would have been built to any expectations for, I'm not willing to bet on them. I've been informed that the show is meant to be more slice of life based, and if that's what the show's meant to be, then so be it. But if the episodes do give more world building, then so be it as well. If Starlight's character does get fleshed out, again, then so be it. The only thing I can do is judge the series for what it is and not what it should be. God forbid I stumble upon another Equestria Games fiasco. So what will Season 5 bring and establish? What more will happen later on? Until then, I'm GoldenFox, and I'll see you next time.